Okay, let's start now. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Warm welcome to our Masters Hualien Dharma team. And brothers and sisters around the globe to Saturday Hualien Dharma Talk. Let us start the session for today. Okay, today I would like to share a short excerpt from Master Ching Yen's speech, Love and Treasure an Infinite Number of Lives. Having the affinity to learn about Buddhism and by applying Dharma in life, our life will be filled with wisdom. Naturally, this will turn into compassion by adopting vegetarian diet and reducing pollution. We love and treasure an infinite number of lives, creating merits for mankind and living peacefully. Guidance for Master's teaching. Now let us send our sincere prayers into the 10 directions. May the Saha land be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing the prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of the world, let us join our hearts and pray for a world of harmony and peace. From my heart, I pray. May we join now hands up. Our hearts as one. Spread the seeds of great love. Nurture wisdom evermore. Let us fill the world with hope. In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. May all the Buddhas know my prayer. All united with one heart, let us end our hate with love. May there be no suffering hereafter.
May all minds be purified. May there be peace in the community. May there be no disasters in this world. Let us pray together for universal love and blessing. With loving respect, gratitude, and confidence, let us wish every person in our lives a healthy body and an enlightened mind and a total fulfillment in universal love. Now let us expand this consciousness to include every person in the world, every being in the universe. Let our unified love make this wonderful world even better. Let us all immerse ourselves in the joyful embrace of universal love. Before we hear the wonderful sharing, let us invite our book masters to lead us in paying homage to the triple gems. Let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved book masters who could join us today. Okay, today we have Brother David Liu who will be sharing with us on the Q&A session, and followed by Brother Steve Chiu will be sharing on the finding meanings and joy in a world consumed by materialism. Okay, before we go to the sharing, I will be sharing Sister Su Ching's weekly summary. She's not available today. Okay, last week was Brother Sun Hock and Master De Huang sharing. Okay, Brother Sun Hock shared the path. In Bodh Gaya's sacred land he stood. Brother Sun Hock joined Tzu Chi in doing good. His first love, an Indian maiden fair, in a nation so vast with many people beyond compare. India is so populous and vibrant. India is so grand. We bring our attention to the Bihar state where Bodh Gaya stands, there where Buddha found enlightenment. Sadly, also a place where time seemed to be frozen. Outside the park, beggars linger long. Unchanged, it seemed it aged strong. But Tzu Chi arrived with a heart so determined, the charity and education mission started rolling. In March of 2023, a team emerged. 20 strong, the biggest dares they have searched. To aid the hungry and thirst was foremost in the charity mission's plight. Feed the poor and destitute first. Dharma can wait in the light. Among them, a beggar, Tzu Chi steps he thrilled. Instead, to his humble abode, Tzu Chi volunteers curiously sealed. A bed Tzu Chi brought for the beggar, comfort to be restored. Tzu Chi's love can be left as a caring reward. A boy with polio who crawled on the floor, bullied and cursed. His pain people deplored. His dreams to be a teacher, this brought joy to his face. Tzu Chi's good wishes left a lasting embrace. For 55 days, some volunteers stayed. A bond with villagers, many hearts truly swayed. Kisses bid farewell when they yearn to return. Love's flame ignited forever to burn. As other NGOs departed in the pandemic's wake, Tzu Chi stood strong. Our commitment does not shake. In education, teachers were Tzu Chi's first guide, showing kindness and hope and poverty devoured. Despite the shortcomings of no walls, no doors, no fence, no whiteboard, some students continue to adopt. Learning with unwavering spirit, they strive and endure, teaching and learning with hearts so pure. In sandy classroom, they gathered and learned. For these children, Education's a precious concern. Tables or not, their spirits held high. Their determination teaches the sky, reaches the sky. The activity seemed brought water filters to clean. Recycling efforts in the villages are seen. Under the Bodhi tree, sutra chant unfold. A pilgrimage in Mahabodhi Tzu Chi stories are told. Many volunteers have paved the way for even more Tzu Chi faiths. In this land of cultivation, we are all united by goodness of the human race. To all who seek changes, heed this call that is made. Join the contribution to the Nepal-India Tzu Chi Brigade. Together, let's uplift many lives anew. With love and kindness, let compassion accrue. Okay, now we come to Master De Huang's summary, the Jingsi family tradition. Last Saturday, Master De Huang's voice filled the air with tales of the monastics' lives told with utmost care, of their days and nights in a sacred rhyme, living in abode with changing seasons and transcending time. Since 1995, the abode faced strife. A typhoon struck, but they embraced life. For helping others was their sacred creed, enduring hardships and setting an example indeed. In 1969, the main building was raised. With love and dedication, it was praised. Over the years, 10 projects took flight. Master disciples worked day and night. Come, lend a hand, Master would say, in the kitchen or wherever you may. Your donations not for the abode, but aid those in need. In the abode, wood we salvage, reuse with mindful heed. The Master conserve and recycle water with utmost care. Rainwater is harvested and plants nurture everywhere. Masters mend clothes, utensils, and more. Repurposing items, reducing waste, and also restore. The nuns' daily schedule starts at dawn. Sweeping, cleaning, and chanting on. Tasks and prayers and work carried through until evening service at 5:50 p.m. The day bids adieu. Days pass swiftly, aren't our lives but a blink? As we heard Master De Huang, what do we think? Strive diligently, quench the fire's flame. Let's be mindful of impermanence and our laxity tame. In the abode, candles are crafted, signifying selfless burning, while eliminating others is the big lesson we are learning. In the task of reading, we also read our minds and purify within. She showed turmeric harvested turned into powder for food and nourishing drinks. Even utensils dry by the sun's embrace, tidiness and consistent grace the space. The nuns also clean water tanks and get comforters disinfected, preventing mold. The summer sun keeps all protected. The roofs are mopped before comforters are kissed by the sun. Truly back-breaking task. Much work is never completely done. Drains are clean as resolutions are held firm. The task clears the mind and peace in communities for all terms. Resolve, we stand, 3 goals in our sight. Pure minds, peace, and a world free of plight. As time shifts and nature rearranges its domain, the Tzu Chi flame endures and our Dharma remains. Okay, Ka'en for listening. Let's hand over to you, Sister Kaping. Ka'en.
And Sister Lily, and I see that Brother David is already online.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our Saturday session. And today we are very happy to have Brother David with us again, answering questions. And today we have got very interesting 3 questions for Brother David. The first 2 are pretty technical, so I really like to hear, what Brother David has to say. Sister Lily, can you share the questions on screen, please?
Wait, I don't have the question with me.
Oh, you don't have
Yeah.
I have.
If you allow me to share screen, then I will share.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can share
You can
actually.
share.
You can
Yeah, I
share.
can share. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have question here.
Okay.
Oh.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sister.
I have questions here. I have. Do you have?
Okay, the first question, yeah?
Yeah.
You have that? Okay. So according to Pure Land practitioners, they can reach Pure Land by chanting and or meditation. I don't know if that's true. Then my questions are, can Tzu Chi practitioners reach Pure Land since we all do not chant, right? And does Lotus Sutra acknowledge a Pure Land? And then the third question is Pure Land same with Nirvana? And what is Pure Land? So Shishio, if you can explain this.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, very grateful for everybody joining this sharing session. Okay, one thing we have to understand very well. In Tzu Chi, the method of our cultivation is not research the Buddhism. It is emphasized on implementation of the Buddhism. That's why we call the Tzu Chi way for cultivation is the Buddhism in action. Okay, so to carry out the to take the Buddha Dharma into daily life and into practicality is more important than we are studying the Buddhism. We want to learn, but not study, not research. Okay. First one, the people say the Pure Land, right? Can Tzu Chi practitioners reach Pure Land since we don't do both? Yes, because Master say the Tzu Chi school is not Zen, it's not Pure Land. We don't emphasize on chanting sutra or chanting 念佛号啦. Okay, yeah. We have to understand chanting sutra or 念佛你们英文怎么讲？
Chanting.
Okay, chanting or the meditation, sit still, 静坐哈. All these school in Buddhism we say this is the skillful means. In Buddha era, this kind of cultivation also belongs to the Buddha said it is a small vehicle, and we call the skillful means. This is not the main purpose of Buddha. She come to our century. No, the Buddha's main purpose is teaching us the true Dharma. That means the Pusa Dao. Emphasize on put everything in implementation, not only chanting by mouth. Okay, so Tzu Chi is not the Zen, not the Pure Land, because the true Dharma tell us the real Pure Land is not on the western side, 不是在西方啦. Also not in the eastern side, 东方琉璃净土啊. 对不对？东方琉璃净土跟西方琉璃世界 ，one is in Eastern, one is in Western. Western we call the land pure land, right? The Western and the Eastern is just a noun. It's a 代名词怎么样 ？It's only a noun. Not make any sense, you know. So many people say after I pass away, I want to go the Western Pure Land. But actually, for true Dharma to say it, where is the Pure Land? There is a saying in Buddhism, 心净佛土净. As long as your mind is pure, is purified, then the Pure Land is in your mind as well. This is what we call everything created by your mind, not external environment. That's why we say the internal environment is the Lord. The external environment is the servant, is the maid. The Lord must control the maid, not the maid control the Lord, the master. Right? 心境掌控环境的. That's why we say that everything created by our mind. Okay? So for Tzu Chi to say, not Zen, not Pure Land, it is Tzu Chi school, something very different from the other meditation. Because the Pusa Dao, Bodhisattva path is one of the it's the most important teaching from Buddha, while he is in the last 7 years. Right? At the beginning 42 years, the Buddha Dharma teach his disciples chanting, sit still, right? 持咒, right? 闭关, like this, all the different meditation. But the last 7 years, the Buddha teach his disciples. Before 42 years, I teach you. This is not my main purpose. My main purpose. This is only a skillful means to approach all of your capability, right? Capability. Everybody has different capability. That's why before 42 years, I teach you the different meditation because I want to catch your capability. But now in the last 7 years, time is not enough. It's too late. I have to teach you the true Dharma. The last 7 years of this true Dharma, in now the century, we say is the Tzu Chi school. Is the Tzu Chi school. This is the real way that the Buddha want to teach all the Buddhists. This is the real way for cultivation. That means what Tzu Chi doing now is the Buddha's main purpose. So we want to, if we want to get the Pure Land, not through our chanting or our 念佛, only chanting, no. You have to do by yourself. You have to, the internal cultivation together with the outward practice. 内修加外行啊. This we call the true Dharma. Inner cultivation and outward and external practice. In inner cultivation, we call 净师 Dharma lineage. 净师 Dharma lineage. External practice means Tzu Chi school. You understand? So one is inside, one is outside. One is the inner cultivation is wisdom. The external practice is the compassion, because you have to go into the math, right? You have to go into the people, right? That is the for 为众生, for sentient beings. External practice is for sentient beings. 为众生啊。Inner cultivation 为佛教。For Buddhism, one is compassion, one is wisdom. Combined together, we call 悲智双运，福慧双修啦。So this we call the true Dharma. So okay, now the Tzu Chi cultivation is not Zen or not Pure Land. And then how can we approach to the Pure Land? So come back to our mind. Just now we said everything created by our mind. If your mind is purified, you are in Pure Land. If your mind is not purified, you are in dirty land. Same thing. Your mind is purified. You are in heaven. If your mind is not purified, you are in hell. Same thing. You eliminate your affections. That means you are in Pure Land. If you get affections, you are not in Pure Land. So depends on your inner environment, not external environment. So how to approach the Pure Land depends on your mind. Okay, the second question, does the Lotus Sutra acknowledge a Pure Land? Yes. Pure Land is not outside, inside our mind. The Lotus Sutra acknowledge there is a Pure Land, but not outside, inside our mind. So this is very, very important, the comprehension, very important. Okay. So the third question is the Pure Land, same with the Nirvana. Actually, this is, how to say, not exactly same, because the Pure Land means your mind is purified. You have no affections. You don't have self-attachment. You don't have your self-view. You don't have those affections. That means you are in Pure Land. What is the Nirvana? Nirvana, in Buddhism we say Nirvana, but in normally we say the Nirvana is what? It's death. But this is not only say our life already ended. No. For the people who has very good meditation, cultivation to say the Nirvana, no life, no death. That's why we call it the 不二法门, right? The normal people say he died. The people died. They say die already. But for Buddhists to say, we don't say die, right? We don't say 死掉, 死掉. We don't say die. We say 往生, right? Reincarnate to another life already. This life already died, but another life reborn already to other 那个什么六道怎么讲 ？Six 嘛，六道轮回，六道轮回啊，
哦，the
six 什么我忘记了，轮回六道轮回啊，六道啊，天人阿修罗地狱鬼道畜生啊。
the six realms, the six realms.
Six 什么
Six realms, 六道。
Six realms, yeah.
Six realms.
Yeah. So the normal people say die. So they feel very sad that somebody died, right? Our family person died, right? But for Buddhist state, although we are also sorrow, but we know the truth. We don't want to be sorrow. We want to bless him because he died already. In this life, he died. But in his another life, reborn already. That's why we call it 往生嘛，对不对？所以涅槃 for Buddhist, for 高僧大德 to say for master to say, 涅槃 means the high 什么境界怎么讲啊 the high state, the high state, the high state we call the no life, no death. This is very nature. This is a 什么那个 the law of nature, right? So once you acknowledge, you know this true Dharma, then you don't fear of the death. So many people very fear of the sickness or death. But this is definitely everybody will encounter this situation. Eventually everybody must die, must sick. No need to fear. So this is the true Dharma we have to know. Okay, the third one, what is the Pure Land? I explained already, right?
Yeah.
As long as your mind is purified. The place, no matter where, no matter when, whenever, wherever, is the Pure Land. Okay.
So Brother David, so what it really means is that, you know, and Master on this chapter 11 in the Xinfa has always been telling us, like Brother just said, you know, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. But I think what is this definition of the land? The land is not outside where you continue to seek the pure land outside, but the land is really the ground of our mind. Like what Brother is also emphasizing this morning. The land is not outside, the land is inside us, the ground of our mind. So how do we get rid of all the dirt, like, you know, the mud? We live in this Sahara, it is the ground of mud. And can we rise like the lotus? And in this morning's Xun Fa Xiang is, can you unlock, you know, the door? Can you press open to come back to your pure self, which is our nature of true suchness? And that is the Pure Land, correct?
That's why the master emphasized the evil not coming from outside, right? It's not terrible. It's not terrible. The outside evil is not terrible. The most terrible evil is inner evil.
Inside us, yeah. Inside
evil, yeah. So the external environment all created by our mind. That's why I say everything created by our mind. So this mind is very important. We call Xintian. You call Pure Land. We call Xintian.
The ground of our mind.
Field. Our mind field, right? So you have to come back to inner side, not outside. You want to learn Buddhism. The right way to learn Buddhism is learn from inside, not from outside. 佛法往内求，不是往外求。Not pray for Buddha, pray for Guanxin Pusa to bless us. No, you have to come back to yourself. But not only come back to yourself only. You have to inner cultivation and external practice go together. 内修加外行，叫做修行啊。
对。
This is true Dharma. We have to understand very well.
Yeah, and by internal cultivation, we are actually saying, 诚正净持，外行就是慈悲喜舍，对吗？
Yeah. This said by Master, but this explanation is a bit difficult for the people to understand, right? Why 诚正净持 is inner cultivation, 慈悲喜舍 is external practice. Okay, simply explanation, right? 慈悲喜舍, you have to take action. Otherwise, how you 慈悲喜舍, right? Happy giving. You have to go into crowd, go into the mass, take action, right? So this is from outside. This is outside. This is a 慈悲喜舍. 真正信实 means you have to be very sincere. You have to be very loyal. You have to be very respectful. This we call 什么? You have to be honest. This belongs to inner cultivation.
Yeah,
You have
integrity,
to walk in-
sincerity,
Yeah, you have
and
to
the joy,
yourself. Yeah,
and
the joy.
the equanimity. Yeah,
Yeah,
the basis.
this belongs to the inner cultivation. You have to be honest. Your heart
Oh,
must be
steadfastness. Yeah.
Yeah, your heart must be honest, must be loyal, must tranquil, must be honest. This inner cultivation. That's why we saw 诚正信实 is inner cultivation. Right? 慈悲喜舍, right? Take your compassion into action.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. 慈悲喜舍.
Yeah. So just now you say the master say 诚正信实 is inner cultivation, and 诚正信实 is external practice. We have to specifically explanation like this way that everybody knows. Otherwise, I prefer to explain simply. Yep. Inner cultivation is going to the sutra, like the Xun Fa Xiang. Now we are inner cultivation, right? We sit there and listen. It's inner cultivation. After the sharing session, we have joined the activity, right? We have go to do the relief operation, everything. That one go to into the cloud. That is our practice. This explain this way, everybody can know very well, right? Yeah. Okay. Second question.
Yes, we do. Second question. Yeah. How does Tzu Chi encourage right concentration in disciples? 怎样去培养镇定?
I have to go back my my records because now my computer is showing your question. I have mine, which you sent me by PowerPoint. So I had 1 minute. Can I go back to my original my?
你要 share 吗，师兄？
不是我的啦，我自己的笔记啦，我要找出来了。
哦，你要自己找到好。
我自己有。现在你
这个是第二个问题嘛？
第二个问题，但是我有我自己的笔记啊，我现在找出来。
哦 ，OK， 好的。
I have to find out my my notes, but I cannot see now because 这个画面上是你们的问题，不是我的解释啊，我要找出来啊。刚刚有，现在没有了。你们不要给我你的问题。你把你的 PowerPoint， 你把你的那个 PowerPoint 拿掉。
我把我的 PowerPoint 拿掉。
对。
所以你要我 stop share 吗？你要我 stop share？
对。有了啊，有了，好了啊，这个才是我的，这才是我的。OK, good. This is mine now. Okay. Second question now. Okay. How does Tzu Chi encourage right concentration in disciples? Right?
对，你要 share 吗，师兄？因为要是不然我们在线上我们看不到问题哦。
你看不到问题是？
对，要不然就是我 share， 你可以看到你自己的。
你 share 好，你 share。
好的。
你 share 啊，你 just share the question and I give you answer.
Yeah.
Everybody can hear your question. Okay.
How does Tzu Chi encourage right concentration in disciples?
This means how to learn right concentration.
Samadhi.
Samadhi.
Yeah.
Okay. This is very important concept because normally the Buddhists want to get right concentration by small vehicle, by skillful means. That means the normal Buddhists, they want to get this right concentration through what? Sit still, right? Sit still. They go into the mountain or find some place very quiet and sit there, right? And cross-legged. Sit there cross-legged. they do through this way because they want to get the right concentration. But this is not the right way for Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path to learn. No. That's why we say the skill means something different from the true Dharma. Now, what Tzu Chi teach us is true Dharma. That means in Tzu Chi, no time to let you sit still. No time for your chanting in Tzu Chi. In Tzu Chi, we don't 我们不是不认同了哈。We still recognize the chanting, but we don't emphasize chanting because different way, different school of the cultivation. In Tzu Chi, no time to let you sit there quietly because you have to keep moving. But doesn't mean you cannot sit there and sit still. No, no time to let you sit still. No time to let you chanting, right? But while you do everything, you join every activities, or even in your walking, sitting, lying. For Tzu Chi people to say we are cultivating the real meditation. This is very important concept in Bodhisattva path. Not sit there or find some place nobody interrupt you. You sit there. No, this is not the real meditation. Just like the 34, right? He is number one. He is the 智慧第一嘛，对 ，number one 什么那个 wisdom。
Sariputra。
对，他是智慧第一嘛。
Yeah, wisdom, foremost in wisdom.
Yeah. So the 34, how 34 learn the right concentration. He went inside the mountain and sit on the big rock. Nobody can interrupt him. But 维摩居士，你说维摩居士哈，维摩居士啊 ，he is not the monk, he is the 什么在家的啦。维摩居士啊，你们知道维摩居士这个人吗？
我不知道英文叫什么名字。
在家人，在家怎么讲
？householder, lay practitioner.
Vimalakati.
Householder 是
Vimalakati.
在家人怎么讲？在家人
home practitioners, lay practitioners.
House practitioner. Okay, house practitioner. 维摩居士 he has very high wisdom, but he is not a monk. He saw the 34 sit inside the mountain, very quiet, and sit still. This 维摩居士 tell 34. He said, 34, the way you are cultivating now is not real meditation. This is, you just sit there, no talking, right? No moving, right? This, for me to say, the way more Jesus said, this for me to say is 坐死禅呐. This is not the Zen, this is the dead man, that Zen. No, the real concentration is you don't have to choose any place. Everywhere, every place, you can do the real concentration. You can sit quietly, even in the crowd. So noisy in the crowd. But your body in this crowd situation, your mind still can keep very tranquil. This is real cultivation. For Tzu Chi to say, your body in the crowd, in the mat, but your mind is isolated. What mean? The meaning is when we are join the crowd, we are join the meeting, we are join the activities, right? So many people gathering together. This is external environment, so complicated. and so chaotic. But our mind, inside of our mind, still very tranquil, very independent. Doesn't been affected by this internal environment. For us to say, you want to cultivate the real concentration in quiet place. This is very easy. But you want to cultivate the real concentration in the changing situation, like in the crowd, in the complicated situation. This is not easy. And this is the way we want to cultivate. We want to learn. In one word, 10 points of static training, 10 points of static training is not as good as 1 point of dynamic training. This sentence you must write down, very important for Bodhisattva path cultivation. 10 points of static training is not as good as 1 point of dynamic training. 中文叫做静中修10分了。你在安静里面修了10分了。This easy because nobody disturb you, right? 但是动中修1分，这个更重要。你在changing situation 里面修了1分的静的功夫，这个厉害。
So if you can score 1 point in a dynamic training situation versus getting 10 points in a static, environment, it's very different, right?
Simply
far exceeds that.
Yeah. If simply explanation is, if nobody disturb you, you just sit there, nobody disturb you. You want to cultivate this real concentration. It's so easy because nobody disturb you, right? You just sit there. But when your body in the changing situation, inside the people, inside the crowd, the situation is quite chaotic. But you still can keep your mind very tranquil. This is the way we want to cultivate.
Yeah.
This we call the true Dharma, right?
Yeah. So it's like, Brother David, it's like when your 6 roots converge with the 6 dust, right? So what you see, what you smell, what you taste, can you still stay, not deviated, right? Can you still stay tranquil?
Yeah. That's why the must always emphasize from 30 years ago, already emphasize the method of Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path cultivation. She emphasized on you have to go into the mass, go into crowd. If you live away from the crowd, there's no way to cultivate yourself. No way. Because 法在人群中了。The Buddha Dharma is in crowd, in mass. You keep away from the crowd, the mass. There's no way to cultivate. No Buddha Dharma already. Buddha Dharma is in the crowd, in the mass. So if you want to cultivate yourself, cannot be always you are alone. You have to keep gathering with the people. But not only this, but not only always gathering with the people only. The night time, you must have time to to still thought.
To reflect.
Yeah, to be relaxed, to self-reflection yourself. Every day must do this. One side is keep moving. One side is keep quiet. One side is Tzu Chi school. One side is Jinsu Dharma lineage. Right? Same thing. Come back to the same true Dharma.
Okay.
Yeah.
好的 ，Next question, yeah.
Okay.
第3个问题就是，my child is vegetarian since birth, But as she grows into her teens and mixes with friends, she is curious about the taste of meat products. So she asks for permission to try while assuring me she will not stray. 就是她一直以来出生就是茹素，现在但是她很好奇，因为很多朋友都在吃肉嘛，她也很好奇，她就是问妈妈，我可以不可以试一下？
Okay, eventually, not only your daughter, yourself also, you have to go into crowd to make many attempts in your life and her life also. You have to get experience, because from your daughter, from her childhood, she doesn't need to interact with other people. So eating vegetarian is so easy because follow the parents. But when she grew up, she has her schoolmate, she has her friends. So she has to touch so many different situations. Then she has curiosity, like us. We want to know why they eat meat. I don't eat meat. What taste of the meat? Everybody has this curiosity. So not only your daughter, for us same, we have to try. Everybody has to make many attempts in his life to get experience, because everybody has curiosity. This is very normal. It makes no sense that your daughter assure you she won't stray or not. This is not important thing. Before she tried, how she won't change. Before she tried, how she can know she won't change, right? She need to try, to test so many things. Then she has the experience, and she start to know what is the experience for this, what is the experience for that, why people eat meat, I eat vegetarian, what difference? Okay. This just like before you join Tzu Chi. How you know you won't join Tzu Chi, right? Before you join Tzu Chi or you start to touch Tzu Chi, you never say, okay, because now I am cultivating the Pure Land School. Now I'm trying to test the Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path. Before I join, okay, I must guarantee I won't be changed by Tzu Chi, right? I won't stray. I don't think everybody thinks so, right? You just have this curiosity. I want to know how the Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path, right? What is his comprehension, right? You want to learn, you want to test. This is your attempts, right? So after we try to realize many things, then we can make decision which one is my choice, right? Before I learned Pure Land School, now I joined Tzu Chi, right? In between, which one is more proper for me to cultivate? I have to analyze, right? I want to make a comparison and choose which one I want to follow, right? Everybody same thinking. Your daughter also same, right? So we must clearly understand for what reasons I choose this choice, right? Why I choose the Bodhisattva path. I don't want to learn Pure Land before I did that. After I make comparison, which one is good for me, proper for me. Every school is good. We cannot criticize other school, but we only can say that Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path is more proper for me to cultivate. We only can say so, right? So we have to clearly understand for what reason I choose this choice. For what reason, for your daughter to say, for what reason I eat vegetarian? What's different from mine and others, right? This is the reason why Master Ching Yen remind us, don't just offer nice vegetarian food to the people. Every day cook so nice, so delicious vegetarian food and offer to the people. The people always say grateful. Of course, grateful, because free and so nice food. Everybody's feel grateful, right? Master said, don't just do this. You have to let the people know why we have to eat vegetarian without meat. Why? You must know this truth. That's why Master always remind us, don't just offer the nice vegetarian food, cook vegetarian food for the people and give the people. No, don't just do this. You have to do something more. The key point is telling the people why we want to eat vegetarian. Why? We want to urge the people to eat vegetarian. Why? This is the reason. Because the Earth's energy crisis is causing from people eat too much meat. Few years ago, not few years, three decades before, the population in the Earth, how much? Now how many population? Already
Now it is
8 billion. 8 billion already, you know. The Earth can afford such many population. You know, in Buddha era, that means 2,500 years ago. 200 million population in the world only. Now 8 billion. So how this Earth can provide so many living material to the people, especially the meat. So they have raised so many cattle, right? Because people want to eat so many meat. That's why the farmers have to raise so many cattle, right? This is the reason why we want to eat vegetarian, because this Earth cannot afford anymore. This causes the Earth become global warming, right? And the Earth, the resource already shortage, right? And not only this, the most serious thing is while the people eat too much food, this causes the collective bad karma. This is very important. So many people eat meat. This causes the human in this world collective. We are creating the collective bad karma. This is the main reason the human attacked by COVID-19, right? This is the reason why before 3 years, all the human in the world suffer a lot by this COVID-19. So many people die, so many people confirmed cases, and our life, all the things, all influenced by this virus, right? This because of the main problem is coming from the people eating too much meat. So after we know this truth, so we don't want to eat meat or try to eat less meat gradually. So many people, they want to eat meat. Okay, you can improve, not eat too many, right? Become less, right? Only vegetable. Less meat, then become vegetable. Even at the beginning, the onion, the garlic, you can eat also. That's also vegetable. As long as you don't eat meat, right? This gradually, step by step, we urge the people try to eat without meat, right? This is the reason why we want to eat meat. Yeah, you understand?
Yeah, Brother David. So for if I'm the mother, how do I mean, so I will go and explain to her the background of why, going vegetarian and not eating meat. But this point about, being curious, right? Externally, there are so many noises. There's so much of things that could entice us. So this is talking about meat, but, there is also drugs. There are also many other things that, kids are very curious about and they want to try. So it comes back to the point, if your mind is too busy, if you cannot have the wisdom to discern right from wrong, that is where you know, you can deviate by just a little bit, and then you get into the wrong direction in the wrong way. So like this girl, the moment she tried the meat product, and if she said, I like it, that's it, right?
But this can avoid, you know. You cannot stop the children. Don't try. Even for adult, us, we want to try so many things because keep learning always. You want to keep learning. That means you have to try so many new things, right? But we don't know the new thing is correct or wrong. We don't know. That's why throughout this process, we have to use our wisdom to make the right decision. So this we call the transforming. You cannot stop people, don't learn. Let him fall down, no problem. Let him fall down, no problem. Why I fall down? Because I use the wrong way, right? Why I get a success? Because you use the right way. This is the process of the education. You cannot stop the people to learn. Same thing, you cannot stop your daughter to learn, to try. You let her try. But if she tries to, oh, the meat also not bad. I want to try a little bit meat. This cannot avoid, but you have to educate her. Why we want to eat vegetarian? Why from your childhood follow your father and mother eat vegetarian? Because we know the truth. You doesn't know, you just follow us. You don't know, you just follow us. But now I have to let you know why we eat vegetarian. Because of this problem. Just now I explained. The earth destroyed by the human already because the human eat too much meat. And why we get the COVID-19? Because you eat meat. You want to eat. This cause somebody want to kill. He killed the animal for you because you want to eat. This already has something to do each other, right? That's why somebody get COVID-19, some die, some seriously sick, and some people never affected by the COVID-19. Why? Because all the animals killed by the people become a ghost, become 什么那个幽魂啊，幽灵啊，幽灵怎么讲？幽灵怎么讲？
幽灵的
Okay, all this animal killed by the people, right?
kill, yeah. So the evil spirit.
Their soul cannot reincarnate to the sick realms, right? Everybody died, they have to reincarnate in the sick realms, right? But those souls, before they are the animal killed by the people. They inside their heart full of the hate. Why you kill me? Right? The animal when he's waiting for that for killing, like our people, like our men, human, we are scared, you know, right? We are scared because if you know somebody want to kill me, he's scared and has too much hate. Why you want to kill me? But he cannot say it. He cannot resist. He cannot say anything. So in its mind, full of hate, after being killed, died, its soul cannot reincarnate. Still here. He doesn't want to reincarnate because he wants to revenge. He wants to find the people who kill me. Right? The killer is the first he wants to find. The second one, somebody killed animal and I eat the meat. I eat its meat. Something to do each other. He start to find the people and match. Like the bone marrow matching. Same thing, you know. I want to find. Or you eat too much meat, I find you. Okay. This soul become a virus. This soul, all these animals die, become a soul, but he doesn't want to reincarnate, become a virus and try to find the people to revenge. This is the story. You have to let your daughter know. So, as long as you don't touch the meat, then you don't have any affinity with this virus. Because we are in different way, no overlap, nothing to do with me. Because right, this story you have to let your daughter know. Then we know why we eat vegetarian, not only for our health, not only for our less desire, not only this time the COVID-19, because of this problem. That's why Master say, of course, everybody must eat vegetarian, right? 非素不可. If you know this truth, then you want to eat meat, right? Even you test already, you don't want. I already test. Although maybe I have interest to eat meat, but thinking of this truth, I don't want to eat meat. I have to force myself. I have to educate myself. Okay. I want to warn myself. Try to eat less meat. The best way is no meat. Keep away from all those those viruses.
Angry souls.
Yeah, and we keep away from those viruses.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is the truth. Okay.
Okay, thanks so much, Brother David, for very interesting answers to these questions this morning. So can we take a picture? Let me stop share. Can we take a picture?
You can see me now, right?
Yes. Can brothers and
this-
sisters all switch on your video so that we can take a picture?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pass the stage back to Sister Su Ching.
I delay. I'm sorry. I delay already. Sorry. So very sorry.
No. Thank you so much.
Really okay. Yeah, Sister Cupping can continue. I'll pass the bio to you shortly.
Okay.
Sister YY take the photo.
Huh?
Sister YY.
Yes, Sister Tzu Chi. Okay, one more time.
Okay. Okay.
2, 3. Yeah, cảm ơn.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye, Brother David.
Yeah. Thank you. Very sorry for delay.
Oh no worries. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
And good morning, Brother Steve Chiu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a very interesting topic that Brother is going to share with us this morning. Yeah, and Brother Steve is in the US. Are you in the US now?
Yeah, I'm based in New York.
There's a huge time difference. It's 12 hours. Where are you, in the west or the east coast?
East Coast, so just perfectly 12 hours. So it's really nice.
Okay, it's 12 hours. So let me read a bit of Brother Steve's background. Brother Steve is our rep to the United Nations. And this is very much in alignment to Tzu Chi's work in the disaster relief, climate action, education for global citizenship, sustainable development, and gender equality. So Brother Steve works to build relationships, and Brother Steve is a very important voice of Tzu Chi, with the United Nations. And hence today, Brother Steve's sharing will be very, very interesting in terms of finding meaning and joy in a world consumed by materialism. And how do we actually emerge from all these noises on the outside and internally cultivate ourselves? And like the first question that Brother David has, right? Where is the Pure Land? The Pure Land is inside us. The land is the ground of our mind. So how do we purify ourselves to be able to stay tranquil and yet, experiencing true existence in a very materialistic world, not being biased to existence, but understanding true emptiness as well. Yeah, so over to you, Brother Steve.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for giving me this time to share with you all some thoughts, ideas, and I guess experiences that we've kind of accumulated over our course of engaging with the United Nations and working at this global platform. There's always been this question that's kind of touched my heart and mind over the years of like, how do we work within this intersection of recognizing that like the work that we're doing is very much like grounded in materialism, but somehow our society has strayed so far away from balance that we're not just materialistic, right? We're hyper materialistic. And in the pursuit of hyper materialism, we become lost to the beauty that exists within the immaterial, right? The spiritual. And so today I kind of wanted to take us through some reflections. First off, maybe building on a little bit of like, who am I? Why are these questions important to me? And then from there, I want to lift up some of the key challenges that are grounded in this notion of materialism as we see it intersect with the issues that the United Nations is working on. And then I want to kind of bring that back to Tzu Chi. So why does this matter for us as Tzu Chi volunteers who are day in, day out doing the volunteering work? And then I have some reflections just about recognizing the relevance and linkages. What can we really do about these issues? How do we tie it back to going beyond materialism? And how do we address these challenges with a spirit of creativity and joy and spirituality, while also experiencing a sense of tranquility amidst the chaos that we have? And then we'll close out with some final thoughts. So I joined Tzu Chi in 1999 as a volunteer. I was 7 years old, and it was right during the Jiuri 大地震, the Gigi earthquakes that happened in Taiwan in 1999. And through this earthquake, our family was already living in Ohio, in the United States. And so we were really concerned about our families back home and our communities back home. And we didn't really know who was supporting the disaster survivors. And so we were constantly tuning into television every single day and quickly found out, whoa, like there's this organization called Tzu Chi, and there's doing really good work on the ground, making sure not only that we're caring for people's material needs, right, but that we're really taking care of their spirit, their soul, we're soothing them, we're taking care of their emotional well-being. And so from the very onset of joining Tzu Chi, I think the thing that attracted my family was not only that like we're doing material aid and we're helping alleviate the suffering of people in need in a very direct way, but that there was more considerations placed than just, are you getting your material, right? Because we very much understand that the human lived experience, it's holistic. There's more than just my material needs, right? There's these emotional and spiritual needs that come along with it. And so we were really inspired by the organization. So we created our own chapter in Ohio, and I was volunteering ever since then. And so one of the first things I did was to fundraise for Tzu Chi for this earthquake through lemonade drives. And we'd set up camp all around our different communities, sell lemonade, raise funds. And so when I went to college, I got the opportunity to kind of take the volunteering work that I was doing at a local community level and be exposed to what was happening amongst young people at a global level. And I see that my dear friend Zhu is on the call here too. And so together he and I joined the Youth Assembly to the United Nations Tzu Chi delegation, where we sent about like 12 young Tzu Chings to go participate in this United Nations forum where young people from around the world were coming to share about what they were passionate about, how they were working to help change the world, and what were some of the challenges that they were facing along the way. And being in that platform and space, I quickly realized like, wow, Tzu Chi is so special, because for every organization that we're meeting, we're seeing that like, oh, like maybe they work on one specific issue of like poverty, or they work on like medical access, but there were very few organizations that were working in a holistic and all-encompassing way like Tzu Chi. And so no matter who we were meeting in this international fora, we had a story to share, we had ideas, experiences that we were doing at the local level, or that we could share stories from Tzu Chi volunteers around the world, right? And so really quickly, it turned me on to this idea that like the work that Tzu Chi volunteers are doing is really special, because we're not just addressing one situation itself, but in a very holistic and comprehensive way through our 4 missions and 8 footprints, we're really tackling the whole of the problem at hand, right? And so this gave me more energy and excitement to continue to volunteer with Tzu Chi. And then so after graduating, I moved to New York to represent Tzu Chi at the United Nations. So that's a little bit of who I am. So in terms of our engagement with the United Nations, I've been now working with Tzu Chi and are liaising with the United Nations, different partners at the UN and at civil society level to kind of look at like the state of the world, what are some of the key challenges, and then in turn, giving advice, sharing inputs, and sharing practices that Tzu Chi volunteers around the world are doing to help the United Nations better understand how we can already solve the world's problems that we have right now with the resources that we have on hand, right? And very often what we're finding that the key risk factors that the UN is lifting up and the challenges that they're speaking to, a lot of them aren't just physical issues, right? These ideas go beyond materiality itself. There's a lot of like rooted human nature and like human desire plays a driving force into why we find ourselves falling into these pitfalls as collective societies. And so I'll quickly lift up some of the key problems that I wanted to share some ideas around and like kind of introduce into the space, and then we'll get into some of the ways in which we're still able to cultivate meaning and joy amidst all of these challenges that are happening, right? And I think it's also very important to note that as I'm speaking to you within this lens, I'm also speaking within the understanding that we are all community leaders in our own right, right? Like the ideas and information that we're absorbing in this ecosystem, this space, isn't just for our own benefit. It's not just for our own Tzu Chi community, but it's for the broader community writ large. And what we find within Gen Z, the youngest generation that we currently have right now, recognizing that they're super connected to each other via the internet, they're very much global citizens, they're aware of all of these challenges at hand, but because they're our youngest generation, oftentimes they're resource starved, they don't have the time or energy because they're in school or they're just building their careers at the very beginning. They don't have the ability to effectuate change on a global level, right? So all of these problems that I'm about to speak into play are constantly sitting in their hearts and minds like heavy weights that are weighing them down, and their sense of hope for the future is being stymied and like 泼冷水, right? Like cold water on a hot fire are these problems at hand, right? So we have things from like the entirety of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have our triple planetary crisis, which is very much centered around how we're engaging with our world itself. We have a alarming growing rate of inequality where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And there's a deterioration of our social fabric and the social contract that we all have with each other. There's a large unaddressed mental health crisis where writ large, our societies are becoming aware that we need to invest more and take care of people's inner beings, but we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the resources for that yet, right? And then there's also this this eventuality that we're devolving into, which is we started with the Industrial Revolution and we went to capitalism, and then we transitioned to this like neoliberal late stage capitalist idea, and we're heading towards hyper-capitalism, which is the endpoint, right? And this is where like everything gets a little worse. And finally, we have escalating geopolitical instability. So we see this within the constant conflicts that are taking place, whether that's in Sudan or all the way out in Ukraine and Russia. There's constant geopolitical strife, right? And so the question really becomes like, how do these challenges relate to our obsession as society and humanity with materiality and materialism, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to just quickly talk about each one of these challenges in a little more detail. So the first being that we really want to look at COVID-19 and the recovery efforts as both a challenge and an opportunity, right? It's a challenge because over the 2 years that the world was trying to grapple with COVID-19, we were also losing progress on a lot of these ambitious goals that we were setting within sustainable development, right? We wanted to rid the world of poverty by 2030, but because of COVID-19, a lot of people backslid into poverty because they lost their homes, because loved ones fell sick. They could not afford to pay for medical bills, and all of a sudden they're mortgaging out or they're like selling their home to pay for medical bills, right? All of these challenges then put a larger stress on the fabric of society, where all of a sudden people who were on the track to become middle class are suddenly back where they were before the pandemic began, right? So a lot of these societal investments and efforts because of the pandemic put us at risk. At the same time, we know that there's an opportunity here because there's been a large amount of finances and funds that have been created by governments to help communities and societies recover from COVID-19, right? But that transformation process, who is the money going to? Is that money being spent in a way that is helping heal communities, or is it enriching those who have systemic privilege and access to these funds and traditionally aren't working with the most vulnerable, are a constant like siren in the back of our heads, right? simultaneously, because of the deep level of death, loss, and isolation, we also see that there's a huge mental crisis that has emerged from COVID-19, right? And largely unaddressed. And so with this in mind, we also know that if we don't recover from this, this has long lasting impacts. Similarly, with the triple planetary crisis, this is something that was coined out of the United Nations as 3 of the largest environmental challenges that are facing our world right now, which is to say, if we don't solve these 3 things, we will damage humanity's ability to live on this planet irreparably, right? And so climate change is always in the news. It's the biggest one that everyone's very concerned with because it has the most direct impact for a lot of people. We can experience it, we can feel it. When the weather gets hotter, you know that climate change is upon us. We know that with countries that are seeing sea level rise because of melting glaciers and ice caps, that those countries like small island states are directly experiencing climate change, right? But in addition to climate change, there's also 2 other layers of human actions that are impacting the planet that are equally important. The second being biodiversity loss, right? So all of the sentient beings that live on this planet, they live in ecosystems, and these ecosystems are impacted by human beings' desire to chop down trees, deforest areas, and reshape ecosystems for our own greed and desire for quote unquote development and progress, right? So Chiu earlier was speaking about like this this idea of like, what does it mean to adhere to a plant-based diet? What does it mean to explore our sense of curiosity? And like, as much as there is a desire to be curious about the taste of meat, perhaps another thing that a good, dutiful parent can do for the child is to activate the child's curiosity to what is the animal agriculture system doing to harm the planet, right? As much as we may want to learn what the taste of meat is, perhaps even more important is to understand the unethical ways that meat is being produced at a mass scale to try to benefit everyone's desire to have more and more meat, right? So biodiversity loss in part is driven by industrial animal agriculture and our unsustainable farming practices that look to extract and exploit from our planet, right? And then the third, which Tzu Chi does wonderful work in educating and working to solve, is pollution, right? So how do our behaviors of like littering, destroying our planet and our surrounding by waste, plastics, throwing away things that could be recycled, end up creating large pollution patches like the Great Plastic Ocean Patch, right? Where it's just this entire place that is devoid of life because it's so filled with plastic, right? And so all 3 of these challenges and issues are centered around humanity's desire for more, and more, right? And we're exploiting our planet in the name of progress and materialism, but at the same time, we're not letting our community see the impacts of our actions, right? We want more energy so we can drive more cars, but then the fumes of these cars that are emitting, the smog is being like blown by our winds into communities that are disproportionately affected by environmental injustices, right? Whereas for a lot of the people who are driving the cars, they don't ever experience that smog to the same degree, right? And so triple planetary crisis as another manifestation of our desire for materialism. Similarly, we have this large challenge of growing inequality, whereby we see that with the American dream here in the United States, we have this notion called the American dream, right? Where anyone coming into America has the ability to take themselves from poverty all the way up to the middle upper class based solely on hard work, right? And this has been like an ethos and a myth of the Americas since its inception and founding. And it's the basis of like American exceptionalism. But recognizing that the modern day world is very different from what we used to understand it as, there's been documented proof that the middle class within America and around the world is shrinking as we continue to escalate towards the widening of the gap and the radicalization of both sides. So we have more people who are becoming just richer and richer, and the poor are becoming poorer and poorer. And that like general middle class that stabilizes societies and prevents like outright riots is very much deteriorating. And similarly within inequality, we come to understand that there's a global housing crisis, in part because of a growing population and our government's reduction of safety nets. And so these are all challenges that as our young Gen Z generation is growing up, they are seeing their future be completely inaccessible to the American dream. They can't see where young people may have a future to have a house, a family, children, because their entire existence, their wages have stagnated and their ability to live a good life has been taken away from them, right? Similarly, with the mental health crisis, recently there was a poll put out by an institution that does research in America asking, like, is there a mental health crisis? Is there an opioid crisis? And by and large, the majority of American population has noted that even if there is not a actual crisis, the sentiment, the feeling of mental health destabilizing within the fabric of American society is increasing, right? And this is not only compounded by the pandemic, but also with people not having access to mental health care. There's this deep stigma to mental health as well. And this is especially prevalent within Asian American communities and Asian communities around the world, right? And then similarly, there's new development within the Gen Z era, which is very much because everyone's so hyper connected online, but they don't see and interact and engage with their friends much in the physical space, that there can be a pervasive sense of loneliness that is cultivated through these different challenges, right? And it persists over their entire day. And so all of this compounds then onto the overwhelm that modern society brings. I know we were speaking earlier to the need for us to find tranquility and stillness within this moment. And I think for a lot of people who don't have and hold that understanding of the need to tend to our inner world, and we seek only external validation, we can become very easily overwhelmed by the sheer amount of opportunity and challenges that the world is providing for us. Similarly, hypercapitalism, recognizing this as just a brief introduction, the things that I will say for here is that hypercapitalism is marked by an understanding that we can grow infinitely, right? And this stands in stark contrast with how we truly understand the world, which is that the world is circular. There's no, we can't infinitely produce growth without infinitely taking resources away, right? But the earth has finite resources. We have finite number of people that we can exploit. So obviously infinite growth cannot exist in a sustainable way, right? But because we are obsessed with profit, we are obsessed with numbers and materialism, this idea of capitalism preys on that desire and then says, okay, well, maybe we don't have that much resources, but if you deregulate corporations and you stop caring so much about where corporations mine from, we can go into your natural or national parks and take your resources there, right? Like you can go to places that traditionally we can't go to, and we can take from those areas too, simply because we want more profit, right? So we've seen over the past 20 years, a deep deregulation of corporations, a consolidation of corporation power over citizen power. And then simultaneously, we've seen that a lot of these corporations then in turn back to their governments and say, well, we now know that you don't have the resources to take care of the public good because the taxes that we used to pay you, we're no longer paying because you've deregulated us and all this, right? But what if instead we take care of the public good for you, right? So we'll take care of the water resources, we'll take care of your economy and the regulation of all of that. And all of a sudden you have this new model where you have deep corporate engagement with the public good, which then trends back to the corporation's desire for deep materialism and growth, which trends into infinite growth models. And so all of that is codified and normalized by what we call consumption as identity. So why people and human beings within our societies don't see this as too much of a problem is because we've been inoculated and trained to understand that my identity, who I am, is by what I consume, right? If I own something, that becomes part of who I am, right? There's this disconnect between our understanding within Tzu Chi, where everything is impermanent, we don't truly own our possessions, and we're just temporarily here with this framework to serve. For a lot of people who operate within normal society that are facing these pressures of hypercapitalism, especially within developed countries, they see consumption as the key way that they can create and cultivate identity and community, right? So more on that later. Finally, we have escalating geopolitical instability. which is very much, we see the deterioration of our world order, right? The UN was founded on this idea that we could have a shared platform where countries can come together to negotiate, dialogue, and build trust amongst each other. But over the years, we've seen that countries willingly violate that sacred sense of trust and mutual agreement in order to have short-term profit and be in conflict and war with each other, right? Simultaneously, another driver of geopolitical instability right now is we're seeing a lot of migration. This migration could be because of climate change, like we saw with Syria, where traditional farmers who were farming on lands that used to be very able to grow great crops were then, because of climate change, dried out, and they were brought into the cities where the overpopulation stoked conflict and that sense of like, what you call like divide, right? And then that in turn broke out into like more migration, into more conflict, and then more wars. And so this then turned into the radicalization of specific communities that felt marginalized and left behind, which then turned into terrorism. And then we have this whole challenge that we see within our geopolitical order, right? And so all of this to say that these are kind of some of the solutions or the challenges that we've been facing. So I know that's a lot of bad that are just spoken to, and I don't want to make it seem like that none of these problems are solvable, because at the end of the day, I really believe that all of these issues are addressable, right? And what lies at the heart of these issues and these problems that the UN is facing and that our international world is facing, I believe comes down to 4 or 5 of these ideas, right? The first is that the way that our systems are built right now, they're built with perverse incentives. That is to say that usually incentive structures go, I do something good, I get something good in return, right? I do something bad, I do something bad, or I get something bad in return. But a perverse incentive structure means I do something bad, and in turn, I am rewarded with something good, right? So for example, companies and corporations that bottle water, right? They go into a place that has natural resources and they take water, they put it in plastic bottles, and they sell it back to the community that they're taking the water from, right? And the community then in turn pays them money to get this bottled water, right? They've done something bad to the community, but the company is rewarded with something good, which is the money that the community is giving them, right? This is a perverse incentive structure, right? Similarly, why do these perverse incentive structures exist? Is because right now our societies by large have misaligned value structures, right? What are the, in Chinese we say 价值观, right? Like what are the values that guide the way we make decisions, that guide the way we create development? A lot of the values that we value right now are not going to create positive incentive structures. They create perverse incentive structures, right? We value the ability to produce a lot, right? We value quantity over quality. We don't think about sustainability of production. We only think about short-termism and immediacy of our production. So it doesn't matter if you chop down a whole forest to get some wood, because in that 1 year that you're chopping down the logs, you're going to get a lot of wood and you're going to make a lot of money, right? But then after that 1 year, what are the impacts of us not having a forest there anymore? We can no longer chop down trees there, right? But that's okay because our current perverse incentive structure just lets us move to another community and chop down their forest there, right? And so this misaligned value structure is allowing for a lot of these inequities, a lot of these problems in society to continue to perpetuate. Similarly, another large reason why we have misaligned value structures is because we're hyper fixated on materialism, right? If profit is the most important guiding principle that informs how we develop, that informs how we understand success, then at the end of the day, no matter what we do, people will take the shortest route to profit, right? And they will take the shortest route to wanting to gain this material good that we put our efforts into, right? But if we understand that there's more to life than just materialism itself, that there is this immaterial layer, our relationship with the natural world that extends beyond just like the natural world's ability to provide me with good, but that there's actually a spiritual connection with the planet, there becomes a whole new layer, an element that we have to consider as we look to extract from the earth, right? then because of the enormous amounts of wealth and power that have been accumulated by people in decision-making positions and people in power, there's a deep disconnect between those who are making decisions and people and planet that are being impacted by these decisions, right? And so all of this at the end of the day is undercut by the most beautiful lie that society has created that allows for society to continue on this path of its own destruction, right? The current present moment that we see ourselves in is a cycle of self-destruction, where society self-cannibalizes itself in the name of profit, right? But this is all built on the illusion of consumption. And so within Buddhism, we talk a lot about awakening and wanting to not be stuck in delusion, right? And so the illusion of consumption is to say that consumption's narrative tells you that if you make more money, if you work hard and like accumulate all these material things, that you will have a meaningful and fulfilling life, right? But if you only stick to the illusion of consumption, what you'll find is you become more and more isolated from your fellow peers, you become disconnected from the world around you, and you become more and more dissatisfied without knowing why you're so dissatisfied, right? But the reason why you're not satisfied is because you're not tending to the spiritual and immaterial component of our lives. So at the end of the day, we need a paradigm shift, right? If we're going to create change within our societies, if we're going to transform the world, we need to shift the way we understand what it means to live a good life for ourselves and for other people, and help others understand that there are ways that we can address our current problems in holistic and sustainable ways already, right? But the fundamental thing we need to do is to first start from the root, right? The root of the challenge is how do we change the culture and values that guide our societies, right? And then how do we then shine a light on the importance of not only our founding values, but these immaterial processes and ethics that inform what is good, right? Too often, the narrative of good, everyone has a different understanding of what is good. But if we can't come to a understanding of good that is more sustainable, we won't have a future that we can pass down to future generations, right? So recognizing that we need a paradigm shift, this is something that the United Nations and people around the world are also waking up to, right? Which means that Tzu Chi actually finds itself in a very interesting moment where we have the opportunity as one of the very few entities that works in these international issues to be an expert and come into this moment and say, we have a solution to what you are looking for, right? There is social unrest, there is systemic challenges, there's problems that are being faced at a global level, and everyone's looking for that magic bullet. How do we solve these situations? Well, Tzu Chi can show you, right? We're not just here to talk about this, but we're going to show you through how our volunteers live their lives. We're going to show you by how our monastic community is in relationship with their the natural world and each other, how we can create a better future, right? Tzu Chi is about Buddhism in action, and because we are doing the action, when we talk about the values that we speak to, we're not just speaking about it in an abstract way. We can directly show people, right? Like, you want to solve climate change? Can you have the conviction to adopt the Jingsi lifestyle, right? You want to address like growing inequality? Can you get a better understanding of what it means to live in community with your neighbors and really provide support to each other, right? So you can stop each other from falling into wealth inequality. Like, there are ways in which that Tzu Chi is already doing this work. And so what my job is, and my job of my, or the job of my team at GPAD, is really to do this work where we showcase to decision makers, policymakers, governments, ministers, that Tzu Chi is a key part of the solution to creating this better world. And so some of the values, I started listing these values and I ran out of time, and I'm like, there's too many values. I don't have enough space on the page. So the key values that I wanted to lift up that I think are very important, right? And this comes back to also young people and this narrative that I want to drive home about, like the importance of young people, right? A lot of Generation Z right now is dissatisfied with how society is run. They have this, like, within their hearts, they know that this is wrong. The way that society is operating is not in alignment with how things should be. but many of them don't have the way to articulate why they feel it's wrong. They just know it's wrong, right? And at the same time, they have an understanding of like, oh, there's all these like cool ideas and like theories of how we can create change, right? But what Tzu Chi does is we can show them that not only do we have these beautiful values that our communities work to uphold, but that we're actually living them and integrating them into our daily lives, right? So when we speak to our children, when we speak to our children's peers, when we speak to community of young leaders, one of the first ways that we engage in dialogue with them is to say that we recognize that our world is in a challenging moment, but we believe that we have the solutions to create the change that we need. And it comes from modeling these following values, right? And so I hope that after this talk, if you find an opportunity to engage with young people, that you start your conversations with the values that you believe can create change. And so the first three are gratitude, respect, and love, right? And recognizing that gratitude and respect and love isn't just for fellow human beings that are doing the work hand in hand with us, like our fellow Tzu Chi members, but also for those who are on the opposite side of this issue, right? We need to hold gratitude, respect, and love for those who are working in decision-making levels in corporations that are challenging the very understanding of what is a good life, right? We need to start from a place of gratitude, respect, and love. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to sit at the table with them and begin to influence their thinking, right? We need to also exercise compassion and put it into action, right? To care about other people is like very human nature, right? But then to take action because we care about another person requires a level of cultivation and diligence, right? Are we exercising that compassion is a very key part of Tzu Chi's model for change, right? Similarly, because Tzu Chi values interconnectivity and interdependence, we know that anywhere anyone is suffering, we need to go and help them because they are a key and vital part of the solution to creating a better world together, right? We can't have a better world where only some people are benefiting. Everyone needs to be a part of that solution. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. And then because of this understanding, we also need to work to build and cultivate community resilience, right? The value that Tzu Chi holds for this is to say that anytime we're doing any sort of engagement with anybody, it's not just about the immediate action that we take, but we're also working to ensure that after we leave, after Tzu Chi volunteers are gone, these individuals can take care of themselves and take care of those around them as well, right? And this ensures that the models and work that we're doing are truly sustainable and the communities that we're engaging with are truly resilient to any future challenges they may face, right? And then finally, the last two being holistic care and true sustainability. Holistic care, I believe, is really exemplified by Tzu Chi's 4 missions and 8 footprints, where we see that in order to help heal a person from the trauma that they have faced and the challenges that they're going through right now in life, we can't just take care of that one thing, right? We need to put them into an integrated system that allows for them to gain access to charity, medicine, education, humanistic culture, the likes, right? And then finally, with the understanding of true sustainability, the word sustainability has become co-opted. It's become taken by people in power and greenwashed to pretend that something that they're doing is sustainable, right? If I chop down 1,000 old growth trees and plant 1,000 new trees, I can say within the current modern discourse that I am being sustainable because I'm investing into the future. But this doesn't address the fact that you just destroyed 1,000 old growth trees that will take thousands of years to grow back up again, right? So if our understanding of sustainability does not change, we cannot create that better future. So, okay, all that to say, I have 15 minutes, but I want to start here, right? There's a lot of suffering in the world and in society. And so really the next portion of what I want to talk about is how can we help others and ourselves really find a sense of meaning and joy, right? If we know that these systems utilize materialism, consumption, and exploitation as the ways that they shape societies, and we want to push back against that, how do we do that, right? How do we create hope for the next generation? How do we show young people that Tzu Chi isn't an organization that is a part of the problem, but that we're part of the solution and that they should be excited about joining the work that we're doing because we are part of the integral change that they're envisioning in their heads, right? So I'll start here. The first being, I believe, really, whenever we're lost and at odds with what can we do to address these challenges, right? Like there's so many challenges. Where can we start? we first look at Master Zenyan's teachings and we look at Buddha's Dharma as the way to begin inspiration, right? And then after we gain this inspiration, we then need to have the courage and the resolve to approach discomfort and uncertainty with a heart of curiosity, right? Which is to say, like, oftentimes when I engage with our brothers and sisters within our community, they will say to me, Steve, like, I grew up speaking Chinese. I don't know English and I don't know English well. So I can't engage with the young people here in the United States because they only speak English, right? And so they've found a challenging thing, which is they're uncomfortable with their expression in the English language. And they're uncertain how young people would react if they spoke to them in not the best perfect English, right? But instead of using the inspiration from Master in the way that she lives her life of wholeheartedly stepping one foot forward at a time, they say, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm not going to do this because I'm going to take care of other things, right? Which we respect. That's their personal choice. But if we are to create a better world, what I advocate for, what I would say is that no matter how bad we are at something, we should do our best to still try, right? We should be curious about it. We should try to learn and then recognize and believe that this isn't just a challenge for yourself to overcome, but this is something that the community can support you to accomplish together, right? We're here together learning these ideas in English together, recognizing that English may not be our first language, right? That's already super exciting. Similarly, we also have to recognize that, like, there's impermanence in all of this, right? We don't know if we have a tomorrow. We don't know if we're going to have another opportunity to engage with this young person, right? So if we seize impermanence as a tool, we can say, okay, well, if this is the only time that I am able to be with this person because of our impermanent lives, then let me take the best of this moment and do the best that I can, right? Similarly, I believe a lot of these problems that we're facing and the challenges that we're seeing in society right now that are tearing at the fabric of our relationships, whether that's Asian violence that is being inflicted upon by other races, or it's this growing economic gap, a lot of these problems come from our inability to really listen to each other, right? It's one thing to show up in a space, in a community that is different from yours with prepared ideas that you want to share. But if we're not taking the time to listen then to what that community is saying, we're just talking at each other, not with each other, right? And true trust is built by listening deeply to each other. Similarly, when we work with young people and young leaders, we come in oftentimes with this idea of, like, I know what's best. And using that framework can turn young people off because all of a sudden they feel like they're being talked to rather than talked with. In terms of what we can do to ensure that this moment of crisis, we're still able to find a sense of joy, we know that joy is able to be created when we serve others around us, right? Because it returns us to our fundamental understanding of gratitude, right? So whenever we can be in service to humanity, we should seize that opportunity. And similarly, we should care for all sentient beings, right? Sometimes we think that our actions are so minute, like, how can we change the whole of the system when, like, I am just one person, right? But if we spend our time and energy loving and caring for other human beings and loving and caring for all sentient beings, we'll find that our actions have profound impact, and those impacts create ripples across society, right? Also, I think we need to recognize that, like, everyone's on this journey, right? Tzu Chi's challenge, I think, as a ethics and value-based organization is that we have very high ideals, right? We want people to be grateful, respectful, and loving, right? But what do we do when someone within our own community isn't grateful, respectful, and loving, right? Does that mean all of a sudden that Tzu Chi is an absolute lie and, like, this isn't the place for us because someone didn't treat me with gratitude, respect, and love? Or is it because that this person is also on this journey and they might not be there yet, but because they're part of our community, they want to be working in that direction, right? And then in terms of how we're able to effectuate change, we need to think strategically about what our theory of change is, right? Tzu Chi's theory of change, I believe, starts from our bamboo banks, right? The way that Master Zenyan has laid out how we create change within societies is by cultivating the heart and love of each and every individual human being, right? And so this bamboo theory of change, do we understand it? Have we internalized it? And it is a part of how we design our work. And then similarly, when we look at our own communities, are we creating good systems that reflect these values within our communities, right? When we talk about being loving and caring with each other, how is our 法亲关怀? How is our care for each other as brothers and sisters, right? If we're not caring for each other, but we're caring for the larger Tzu Chi community, then we at some level have failed to do our job, right? Then I think recognizing that we're all like doing this out of a sense of passion and love and care, it's very important not to burn out, right? And to have systems and structures that check in on each other to say, hey, I know you've been working really hard recently and it's all been volunteer hours and like you've been pulling late nights to try to make this event happen and the event didn't go the way you wanted it to, right? You, like, as a community, we need to check in with those who are taking leadership positions. We need to check in with those who are giving their time and effort out of a free will to make sure that they have a sense of being nourished rather than them coming into the space and feeling like we're just taking things from them, right? And so this is then to say that like we should also not model systems of extraction, but really come back to systems of nourishment, abundance, and replenishment, right? Tzu Chi should be a space of healing and joy, where when people come into our community, they feel that they have something to give, they give it freely, willingly, and they're happy to do so, and they've gained something from that act of giving, right? Oh, I got so many things. I got like 15 more pages. I think I'm gonna have to go a bulleted version. I'll send you guys these slides afterwards, so you can explore these ideas further. But I think really, in part of like why I've designed these slides the way I have, I believe that we need to think about how we communicate as a community and think of how we can communicate in more different ways, right? If we are like imagining if society has like a diversity and plurality of people who learn different ways. Some people are more visual learners, some people are more auditory learners, some people are more experiential learners, right? However that person learns, there's a different way for us to transmit the information. However, if we only communicate in one specific way, then we will only reach a fraction of our audience, right? And so as we're doing this work in our communities to try to address these challenges, how we communicate in innovative ways that infuses creativity into that space will attract a different crowd than we normally get, which I think is a very exciting opportunity. Similarly, I believe that in addressing these challenges, we need everyone's minds and bodies together with us doing this work. And in order to do that, we need to embrace pluralism and diversity in both behavior and belief, right? We have our own space and understanding of what it means to be a good human being, but we also need to hold space for those who may not conform to those notions to have a way to be in community with us, right? So we can serve together to help the broader international community address these challenges, right? And this comes back to the notion of what does an unexpected partnership look like, right? Tzu Chi can't solve these world's problems alone. We have to work with others. Who do we work with? Traditionally, we work with very specific like groups and individuals, right? But what does a partnership with an entity that lies outside of that normal structure look like? What good could come from that? That's a creative imagining exercise that I encourage you all to endeavor on as you think about designing your next projects. And similarly, I believe we need to hold each other accountable, right? Just because we're volunteers doesn't mean that we can't be accountable to each other and the mission, right? We need to give each other flexibility, of course, but to hold each other accountable is to say that we are a part of this community and we're growing together. Therefore, we need to invest our efforts, energies, and time together as well. With this, I think also in the recent years, Tzu Chi has done really good in like beginning to understand the important role that young people have in creating change in our communities, right? How do we invest in this knowledge though, right? Because it's one thing to know that young people are like really good in helping us build community, but are we providing young people who are coming in to volunteer with the 3 critical things that every organizer needs? Are we providing them space? Are we providing them free food? And are we providing them free childcare, right? Because for a lot of these young professionals who have children, if there's no one taking care of their kids, they can't come in the evenings to do some service, right? If no one's cooking them food, they got to cook food for their whole family. And so they're not going to be able to come and help us work on these global challenges and issues, right? But to invest in these things requires time, effort, resources and finances, right? Are we putting our money where our mouth is when we say we want to pass the torch on to the next generation and give them the resources that they need to succeed, right? And then finally, I think it's important to look within, right? Like a lot of the work that we need to do in order to create change and separate ourselves from materialism is also to ask ourselves, like Chiu was saying earlier, right? Like, what is our space of daily reflection? How are we perpetuating like our societal understandings that may not be correct, right? Am I constantly in pursuit of like more numbers, right? Do more numbers make me a better person? If I think that way, that's because society has taught me that. Is that true? Is that what is truly the way that I am going to succeed and create a better future, right? If I'm not reflecting on that, then it can be very easy to fall into my own behavioral traps that have been conditioned by society, right? So we need to build those spaces to reflect and look within in order to be effective in creating joy and meaning in this strange, strange world. So finally, I think there's so many issues that I've raised today, and there's challenges and whatnot, but it's important to learn more, right? Each one of these issues has like a abundance of like literature, ideas, and groups that are doing this work. But you don't need to know it all, right? But what you do need to know is what is the thing that you care about and how do you fit into the bigger picture, right? Too often people despair, lose hope, and have a sense of dread and anxiety around climate change. I'm using climate change just as an example, but really for all of these problems, right? Because they have no understanding of who around them also cares about this issue and what is the good work that is being done already, right? We don't need to solve the whole problem. We just need to be a part of the solution, right? And so with that, I think recognizing that this talk has been like a whole chunk of time, just me talking, I want to leave a couple minutes just for any questions and answers, but I'm grateful for your attention, for your time and energy. And I hope that you continue to do the very good work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Stu. You speak with so much passion and conviction on this subject. I mean, you're very knowledgeable, and thank you really for sharing with us, what is truly happening, and also summarizing, so comprehensively on the issues that we all face today. And really, I think, like you pointed out, that is really a loss of balance between supply and demand. And in the real world today, with a population of 8 billion, demand cannot create its own supply. We have been taking and taking and taking, and there is a finite amount of resources that the Mother Earth, can provide for us. So it's really, like you clearly pointed out, it requires a paradigm shift in our mindset. And really, I think, one of the issues, the greatest issues, I think what we are facing today is the loss of virtues, the misalignment of our actions with principles. So we are really today disconnected from the truth. And this is where, we are totally deluded, by our ignorance. So coming back really to Tzu Chi, I think, you put it right, really, is Master's 3 visions, right? How to, care for people, inner beings, is really to help purify minds and then bringing harmony back to society to rid the world of disasters. I think that is really great. So what I like you just pointed out is that, to overcome today's issues, we really have got to now adopt a mindset of pluralism and diversity, treating everyone as, we are part of Mother Earth, and Earth is only a small speck in the universe. So I really like to open the floor for questions. This is a rare chance that we can get, Brother Steve with us and answer questions. I'm sure today's topic, there may be a lot of questions from people on the floor. Do we have questions?
Oh, Brother Steve, very awesome sharing. Brother Steve, we will definitely need to invite Brother Steve for another round. And Karen sister helping for wonderful facilitating. Yeah, I'm just thinking that this, well, there's so much that I think Tzu Chi have done, definitely we know about that. And about Tzu Chi's participation in the UN, what is happening there. I'm sure there are people who are also curious. Today we are very grateful because we have Brother Steve coming to share with us all these things, engagements. If it's possible, I'm not sure, Brother Steve, if there is any chat group, or because we may have, we also have some maybe young people or even the volunteers who are keen to follow up on what Tzu Chi is doing at UN. I'm not sure if there is any can also share with us so that yeah, rather than like this, we are waiting for Brother Steve today come to share with us, or if there's any, which is not quite rare to have, not usual, especially in English, to have Tzu Chi volunteers briefing us. What are we doing at the UN level? Truly, we also often heard people saying, it's already, the world is like getting to this critical stage. What can we do? It's like even like yesterday, someone told me, it's like no turning around. But for us volunteers, we are still doing it because we know this is our responsibility. But for people outside there, I think it will be very interesting to let them. I think hearing from Brother Steve is very enlightening. So okay, how Brother Steve?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll lift up two things. Just the first being, I think this moment of our Tzu Chi engaging with the UN is also very exciting because we're coming at the precipice of the Summit of the Future, where the United Nations is asking the question of what does it mean to create a better future, right? And one of the like thematic areas that we're going to be in dialogue about is how do we go beyond gross domestic product as the measurement of success, right? Right now we see like growth and this notion of like how much we produce as the key evaluator of like society's wealth and ability to be like flourishing, right? It's how we measure human well-being right now in like a very like empirical way. Because we measure it around growth and product, these two ideas become the driving forces for like capitalism to continue to grow, right? But if we propose alternative models of what it means to measure progress and success, then we're able to like have different ways of measuring and creating impact, right? So there's been two trends within the UN that Tzu Chi has engaged with. The first being gross domestic happiness as a narrative of like, how do we measure our citizens' happiness and how much of that is a metric to success? And what we find is actually those citizens who are happy as polled through their governments and like modeling agencies, we begin to understand that their well-being is significantly better than countries who may have higher domestic product, but are actually still suffering and miserable in their own unique ways, right? And then there's also this narrative around inner development goals, which is the accompanying sister idea to the sustainable development goals, where the sustainable development goals are measuring like very tangible things of like, how do we reduce poverty by 2030, right? And how do we ensure that we have gender equality by 2030? The inner development goals are asking like, how do we have like a sense of like compassion and stillness? How do we cultivate these values within ourselves as goals and benchmarks to have, right? So there's some resources in that ecosystem that I'd be happy to share after the talk. But then in addition to that, our team also has different like channels that we host events at that we'd love for everyone to participate in. And I'm happy to send like an email that people can write to be added on to like lists of information and distribution as well.
Okay, great. We will, yes, I think through Master De Huang, we are very grateful because Master De Huang invited Brother Steve to benefit us. Okay, brother.
Thank you, Sis Su Ching. Is there any other question?
Can I just ask something? Brother Steve, I'm my brother Chris Chiu. I've listened with very intense interest on what you shared. But on the other hand, I'm very overwhelmed by the problems in this world. And so whatever I'm doing now seems to be like that little ant going up Mount Everest, right? Does it make that much difference? Whatever I'm doing in my community, in my small little way, looking at the big problem that you showed us just now, how do we try to reconcile that huge problem with our small thing that we can do, you know? Brother Steve?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Brother Chris. So I'll lift up two ideas. The first being that as you're doing the work, your little work within our community, right? It's not just about the action itself. You're also modeling the future that we want to live in, right? So when we as Tzu Chi volunteers go into communities and we help other people and we create a better future for that community, we're not just doing it for them and that alone, but we're also saying this is a way of being, right? And we're showing them like a different thing than what they're used to, right? By doing so, the hope is that we're not just helping them, but we're empowering them to become change makers and change agents themselves, right? We're growing the community of people who care, right? These people who care, they don't have to join Tzu Chi, right? But they have to be a part of your network. They have to be a part of your community, right? Which is to say, like, we need to grow our understanding of how we create impact, right? We don't just create impact by like helping those around us, empowering them, and then leaving, right? We need to stay in constant connection with these individuals as well. They become part of our community and our effort grows. Similarly, it's like the little ant that's climbing Mount Everest can't climb it alone, but together with a lot of ants, we create an unstoppable force, right? And I think one part of my reflection to you would be, how do you grow your community through the actions that you're doing? They don't have to join Tzu Chi after like you engage with them, but they have to be a part of Tzu Chi's movement of compassion in action, right? And what that looks like depends on the unique locale, but at the end of the day, what I would envision that as is anytime you have something going on, you're able to bring a force of people to do that good with you together, right? Simultaneously, I would agree that like the challenges and problems that we're facing in the world are very overwhelming, right? But I would also say to you, I didn't have time today to list out, but like within Tzu Chi's network at the United Nations, we have thousands of organizations that we are connected to, right? And these organizations all have like hundreds and thousands of like individual supporters, volunteers that are doing their own thing, right? So for example, Tzu Chi is a part of the US Climate Action Network. The US Climate Action Network is one of the United States' biggest climate groups that is working to mobilize across all 52 states and get people to engage with the actions around like climate action. They're doing like organizing, they're like working with governments and private sector to help change the way that these entities are engaging with climate change, right? So these are thousands of people around the United States, right? Because I know that these thousands of people are doing good work, when I think about climate change, I'm not thinking about how big the problem is. I'm thinking about how exciting it is that my friends within the Climate Action Network are doing this work, right? And similarly, so what I would encourage you to think about is, let's not look at just where the problems are, but let's look for where the people are doing the good work are, right? Like, what are these organizations that are working to respond to the crisis, right? And how are they responding? And that within itself should assuage your fears that this problem is insurmountable, right? Because at the end of the day, the work that our team's doing, the work that Tzu Chi is doing globally, is that of collaboration, partnership, and fraternity, right? We're looking to build this community of change makers and be a part of this community so that we can provide our unique solutions in our own unique ways, right? So we need to think global, but we can't let the global influence our local actions to the point where we don't want to do anything local and we only want to address global things, right? We have to understand that there's this deep connection between our local and our global, and that the local actions also flow into the global space.
Thank you so much, Brother Steve. I think that is really, I mean, you know, I chair the sustainability committee for, you know, our board. And, you know, I constantly think of, you know, how to inspire people, not just tone from the top, but really people at the bottom. because everyone today is talking about ESG best practices. Personally, I think that is not doing very much, because people are now just ticking the boxes rather than really making significant impact. And really, I think, to answer Brother Chris' question is that it's actually the little things that each and every one of us can do that will make the greatest impact, because there are 8 billion of us, not so much of what the company can do and not so much of what the government can do, but each and every one of us. And this is the message that I keep telling, people in the company. So I have lots of questions, but I think, I have to keep it for the next session. So which means that, Brother Steve, you have to come back again and share with us. Okay.
All right, it'll be a treat. I think maybe just in closing, what I would say is that hope is bred from action, right? Like, we can look forever at the challenges that we face in the world, and we can despair forever. But the moment we begin to act in our own unique way, it's a perpetuating cycle, right? And the more you do, the more stories you have to tell, which means the more you can inspire. The more you can inspire, the more people come with you to do the actions, and it just grows and grows until it's an avalanche of compassion and love. And so I encourage everyone to think about the issues that I've raised today, but just begin to take action in whatever way you can in your local community, and you'll find that beautiful cycle be born in your life.
Thank you so much, Gan Eun, Brother Steve, for your heartfelt sharing with us today. And in closing, I would like to invite Brother Steve to lead us to pay our respect to Buddha and Master in making 3 bows. Yeah? Before that. So if we can. Yeah, before that, can I invite everybody to, switch on your video, and then we can take a picture with Brother Steve. Sister Abby, can you help to do that, please? Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sister Abby. So let us now invite Brother Steve.
Sure. If we could put our palms together and we'll pay our respects to Buddha, the Master, and in the form of 3 bows. First bow. Second bow. And third bow. All right. Thank you guys so much. Hope you are well. Take care. Kanen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.